But first up, wow. How to lose an election 101. That's the playbook being played out right now in Queensland, with the Labor government refusing to open its borders. Now, after originally suggesting the borders would be reopened by early July, Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk now says she'll be taking the advice of her Chief Medical Officer, Jeanette Young, and that looks increasingly likely to be at least September. In fact, I heard on the way in tonight her saying that it could be beyond September. Now, this extension of the borders being closed has been universally panned by political and tourism leaders. In fact, a report commissioned by the Cairns Regional Council found the city's economy will have shrunk by $386 million by the end of June. That's 7,700 jobs lost. Now, that report, using figures from the credible National Institute for Economic and Industry Research, paints an even more dire situation, for example, on the Gold Coast, with job losses of 30,000 and a 17% plunge in the local economy. That's a hit of $1.5 billion. The report said the key to the economic survival of these cities was the resumption of interstate flights. Now, of the 10 hardest hit regional areas, 5 are in Queensland: Cairns, Gold Coast, Sunshine Coast, Townsville and Fraser Coast. Now, have a think about this. Regional tourism in this country is worth $65 billion a year. Let me repeat that, $65 billion a year. It's a lot of jobs, it's a lot of livelihoods, it's a lot of prosperity, and it's now under threat from the greatest health and economic catastrophe in a century. In anyone's language, it's worth saving. It's only second in this country behind mining. Yet, we've got leadership here in Queensland, and of course we've got an election on October 31, let's not forget that, unwilling to make the decision to open the borders up in July, as was first mooted, and it is part of the Commonwealth plan. Now, many tourism operators say they'll be dead and buried if they have to wait until September. Their reliance on southern visitors keen to escape the cold weather in winter is paramount. Now, the Queensland Premier will say health is her top priority, and that, of course, is always the case. She will say her Chief Medical Officer is that there is a risk that there will be another cluster outbreak. That's what her CMO will say. And that's true. There's no doubt that there's always that possibility without a vaccine. But Australians have done the right thing and will continue to socially distance and adhere to the health protocols, because as Australians we've banded together. It's Team Australia. We're all in this together. There's a risk in everything. You've got to weigh up the low health risks and the implications of that versus the fact that people will go to the wall if we continue to adopt the attitude that September is the date that we will lift the restrictions. To me, it's an easy decision. In fact, I think it's a no-brainer. Open the borders. Just open the borders, Premier.